Good afternoon, folks. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Peter, and it's nice to be chatting with you all today. Sorry I couldn't be with you in person, but I recorded this quick video just to give you an overview of what I'm going to talk about, and we can always follow up afterwards if there's any questions from today. But like I said, my name is Peter. I'm a recent-ish graduate from the University of Colorado Denver Business School, of course. And just a quick introduction about me. I studied international business, finance, and leadership studies, all of which were fantastic. As far as I understand, all of you were in the business school as well. So that's great. While I was enrolled at the University of Colorado, I worked as Vice President of Student Government for a time, really working on that student experience during and after graduation. I spent time working with the federal government under the Department of the Interior in several different roles, most recently and pretty much most fun as a ranger with the National Park Service. But I've also done a whole bunch of business analyst such activities too for a time. Now I work in consulting in the private sector, but I'm mainly here to chat with you guys about the federal service and government work and some tips regarding that, because it can be a little bit of a process. And so from what I understand, most or all of you have served in various capacities, so you may have already been exposed to some of this information. So forgive me if it's a repeat for you, but there are some tips that I did want to pass along for your benefit. So the federal government, right, it offers tens of thousands of jobs at all times, basically, all around the world, from Denver and then anywhere you can imagine, right? Basically, every government department hires business graduates from the analyst level on up. So there's an incredible number of opportunities. However, the hiring process can be a little bit wonky, right? As you may have experienced or you may have heard about, depending on which track that you've taken in your other lives. So candidates are ranked using a point system. But as a veteran, you get what's called veterans preference. That is huge. Essentially, this gives you preference over other candidates by giving you more points. So it's a little bit of a strange system, but in most cases, it actually really works to your advantage, and that's a huge thing to keep in mind when you're job searching, right? There are a lot of other nuances with government employment. So for example, as we've all heard over and over, a private sector resume should be like 1 or 2 pages, but the federal government one can be a bit longer. Mine's sitting around 4 pages, and I certainly know people's that are longer because they have more experience, right? So really important to keep those differences in mind. Also, different jobs, they have different, resume requirements. So just really honing in on that. Look up a template for a government resume if you're thinking about going this route. Also, really important, most interviews are behavior-based, so they're a little bit past-looking rather than forward-looking. So they're looking for past performance to prove future performance. So really, have your accomplishments and your competencies really top of mind when you're writing your resume, and then when you're applying, right? So that you're ready to go for that interview. If you find a job you like, it's also really important to apply to it quickly, because the applicant windows can vary greatly. So it might say it's going to be open for a couple weeks. That shifts pretty regularly. Also really important, you can set email alerts. I'll talk about where to do that in just a second. They work really well. If there's a very specific position that interests you and you're looking for every time it comes up on the website, just set those alerts, it comes right to your inbox. Piece of cake. At the very least, I would advise you to look at what's available, right? Generally, due to the slower hiring process of the government, you have to start searching a few months before you think you do. To search, this is the website, right? Use usajobs.gov. So usajobs.gov, as you may have heard, you may have used it already, it's really the one-stop site for all federal jobs. So it's pretty simple to navigate on there. There's a really great veterans tab as well at the bottom of the home screen. So I'm not going to go through all of that right now, but that's an excellent place to really get some baseline information and where to start and what benefits you have. So look, far in advance, as the process from applying to interviewing to starting can be months and months. But because of the veterans preference that you've earned, it's really in your best interest to use this benefit and at least explore the many options that are available to you, right? So I'm sorry I couldn't chat in person. I wanted to leave my contact information if you have any specific questions, so that should be made available to you. Just send me an email if you want to have a time to chat and connect, and we can just look over options. There's so much, right? Resumes, how to apply, the interview process. It's not as complicated as it sounds, so it's pretty navigable. But the process is different than the private sector, in terms of resumes, timelines, etc. So just because it can be a little different depending on where you want to end up, I'm happy to just connect and chat if you want more information about the process. So enjoy the day, and we can all chat soon.